Hey there, I'm Bogdan Khashiev, the User Acquisition Team Lead at AdQuantum. Welcome to the thrilling finale of our User Acquisition course. This is the third and final lecture in our UA cycle. Today, we're going to unveil the secrets of assessing your marketing campaign's potential for scaling and explore a bunch of ways to skyrocket them. Let's kick things off by evaluating your scaling potential. First and foremost, we need to ensure that any scaling we have in mind is not only possible, but also profitable. To make things easier, we like to categorize scaling options into three broad categories: scaling of new creatives, scaling of existing hypotheses, and scaling of new hypotheses. The assessment of the first one may seem obvious at first glance. Your scaling potential depends on the availability of new creatives that have demonstrated decent results during the creative testing stage. However, it's crucial to delve deeper and consider the specific type of new creatives that we are planning to use. Option A. New creatives follow the same idea as the ones you are currently using in your campaigns. In other words, they leverage similar mechanics and settings, serving as iterations of your older creatives or presenting a fresh take on the same concept. It's important to note that their alignment with the same target audience groups should also be reflected in the metrics. As we all know, creatives can drive profitability either by attracting a cost-effective audience or by striking a balance between cost and quality. Therefore, when categorizing new creatives, we should also consider their raw numbers to gauge their performance. Option B. Another possibility is introducing new, previously unused mechanics or setting approaches. In this case, we need to evaluate them based on metrics to determine if they attract a different type of audience. Either way, new creatives always offer an opportunity to increase your ad spend, with the potential for achieving an even better return on investment, or ROI. Finally, friends, I want to show you how you can use Apptica Creative Intelligence tools to compare the impact of new creative approaches. Let's jump to App Profile section of Idle Lumber Empire, the game I'm currently working with, and go to Advertiser Profile of the game, and look for some ads that we have used for the last 3 months. We've touched upon the Advertiser Profile and Apptica Creative Intelligence tools in our previous lectures, so be sure to check them out if you haven't already. Okay, so these little graphs below each creator show us the share in total amount of impressions for these ads. As we can see, there were some shifts in ad distribution as these creatives seem to burn out, and these creatives, like this one and this one, they seem to took their place. We can also learn the number of days each and every ad was used over the selected period of time. Let's take a closer look at 2 ads. Let's compare this one and jump to its section, and this one. Okay. As we can see, both creators had a significant boost in impressions in the mid of July, in the 19th of July. However, the first one shows a tendency to decline, as the second one demonstrates a more stable curve. This can indicate that the first creative approach is being overwhelmed by the other one, both in auction and inside campaigns. And this we should obviously keep in mind when we are using these insights for our own creative production. The so-called stability of creatives and how long it can sustain a sustainable share in total amount of impressions for the app we are currently looking at. And vice versa, we can use Advertiser Profile to search for creatives that fail to get any spend and thus may be considered as not performing hypotheses. To look for such insights, we should simply go to newest ad page and search for ads that have been active for 1 day only, which most likely tells us that they only went through a testing campaign and didn't go any further. As for these creatives, this should be correct as far as I'm concerned. And as we mentioned in our previous lectures, monitoring your competitors' creative production and taking inspiration from it can be the key for scaling your spend without having to sacrifice your ROI. Scaling of existing hypotheses means that you're about to increase the budget allocated to your already successful setups. However, for this scaling approach to be effective, your current setups must show performance that has a sufficient ROI backup, as substantial budget scaling often leads to decreases in ROI, has stable performance on a weekly basis with no significant drops in results from week to week, and has a predictable performance on a daily basis, meaning you can reasonably forecast the bottom of the funnel outcomes based on the top of the funnel data. By ensuring these conditions are met, you can confidently proceed with scaling your existing setups and maximize your campaign's potential. The last point may seem a little controversial, as one could argue that the more data you collect, the more predictable your results will be. That is 100% true, but it's important to distinguish between scaling and optimization. Scaling is not solely about obtaining more data for day-to-day analysis. All in all, having the above stated conditions are met allows you to increase budgets on existing setups. Lastly, scaling of new hypotheses is a sort of a combination of the two previous options. It comes from the existence of new creatives that have the potential to enhance the performance of your previously non-profitable setups. It can also involve iterating on your existing well-scaled hypothesis by incorporating untapped audience expansion, narrowing, or targeting features. As many of you may already know, there are two approaches to increasing your marketing spend: vertical scaling, which involves increasing the budget of your existing campaigns, and horizontal scaling, which implies adding new campaigns. However, it's important to note that horizontal scaling should not be limited to simply copying performing campaigns. Since we have stated what requirements should be met to perform a successful scale, we can now discuss which path is more suitable for each case. Scaling with creatives can be performed through both vertical and horizontal approaches. If adding new super-duper good creative to your existing campaigns boosts their performance and your ROI goes up, you now have a safe space to increase their budget. We recommend adding and combining only similar types of creatives to maintain predictability and stability in your campaigns. Also, make sure that added creatives get the actual spend. If that is not the case, it's better to use horizontal scaling, which is a generally good practice and go-to option for new creators, since it prevents issues when old, still performing creators are being overwhelmed by new ones, and thus resulting in missing some profit. New creative approaches, which we marked as option B creatives, also open up a variety of possibilities for retesting and making up some new hypotheses. Revisiting geos, optimizations, and other settings and combining them into new setups can lead to a significant increase in your campaign count, and thus to horizontal success. In terms of scaling of existing hypotheses, we recommend keeping the number of similar campaigns low and focusing on vertical scaling. This is because a lot of sources are suffering from auction overlap, or so-called cannibalization. Having a lot of similar campaigns with similar creatives and targeted settings may result in poor performance outcomes for the majority of them. It's okay to make multiple campaigns at first, and then leave the best one or two. As for vertical scaling itself, try to keep it steady, adding from 15 to 25% of current budget once in 3 or 4 days. Not only the suggested pacing allows you to keep an eye on your performance, but it also keeps campaigns from breaking, as increasing the campaign budget drastically may have a negative impact that should not be done. The scaling campaign's budget should be performed at the same rates. Scaling of new hypotheses is another method for horizontal scaling. Not only does it come from finding new creative approaches, but also from the evolution of a product itself. Adding new features and optimizing the existing monetization model can give a significant boost to the ARPU, CR, and lifetime metrics of an app. So, as was already mentioned, revisiting some of the old hypotheses can be beneficial. Once you have found a new major setup, which is a combination of geo and optimization, as we already discussed in our second lecture, or if you want to iterate the existing setup, you should create new campaigns and alter single or multiple targeting settings, like placements, lookalike audience, interest, age and gender, bidding, and etc. Last thing, let's examine how the above stated principles apply to SKAdNetwork campaigns. As we all know, most social networks and platforms have a restricted number of SKAD campaigns, which makes horizontal scaling impractical. Instead, it's more effective to focus on limited number of setups and scale them vertically. Switch to newer creatives only after the old ones have experienced creative fatigue, and try to avoid having several campaigns on similar setups. Well, we've gone deep into the details of assessing and scaling your marketing campaigns. Whether you're unleashing the potential of new creatives, expanding existing hypotheses, or bravely exploring new territories, each approach brings its own unique growth opportunities. Just remember to strike a balance between predictability and a little experimentation, and let those performance metrics be your guiding star. Happy scaling, my friends, and remember to keep those achievements coming. As we wrap up this course, it's time to bid our farewells. I want to wish you good luck in your future ventures in the world of user acquisition, where your campaigns hit new heights.